Hey guys, so welcome to the show. And it was a double header on the Saturday for the SA20. And we got to see JSK at home against my Cape Town, MI Cape Town. And we also got to see the defending champions, SEC, in their first game against the Durban Super Giants. That was the double header today in the SA20. We're going to be have quite there's going to be quite a few weekends where there are double headers, but this particular weekend there are quite a few. At least today there were quite a few South African performances that we can speak about. So I thought I'd go live for this one because there was a major performance that took place today. Two, in fact, that really stood out, that was fantastic, that needed to be spoken about and needed to be highlighted. So on today's show, we'll be talking about Rassie van der Dussen. We'll be talking about Ryan Rickleton. We'll be talking about Tristan Stubbs, John Smuts. There are quite a few guys to speak about from a South African point of view that of performances that can be highlighted with regards to the SA20 2.0. What a way to get the tournament started as well. High scoring games basically all around. We've seen some big totals being scored. Wickets have been very conducive for the batters, bar one game, obviously, for Paul, where it was really conducive for the medium pacers and spinners, or the medium slow bowlers and the spinners. So, on today's show, we're going to be highlighting the massive performance by Rassie van der Dussen and MI Cape Town as the main game, and then we'll go into a little bit about DSG getting their second win under their belt in this tournament so far. But before we get going, before we get started, please subscribe to the channel. Please click that notification bell for all future videos. We are getting closer and closer to that 5,000 subscriber mark, so help us get there. We'd like to get there very, very soon, so please get involved there. Tell all your fans of South African cricket to subscribe. This is the only channel that you can really watch that has daily shows, regular content that speaks about South African cricket, highlights South African cricket and all the players in our domestic system as well as the national side. I'd also like you guys to please download our SA20 edition of the magazine. But when you subscribe, you get every single back issue 100% free, straight to your inbox every single month as well. Link is on the screen as well as in the description. And we've also recently launched something very exciting, the Cricket Fanatics Magazine Business Corner. So why did we do this? South African cricket has been in a very difficult spot for a very long time. Not only is Cricket South Africa in a big spot financially, but I think that businesses in cricket are also in a little bit of a tiz at the moment when it comes to having viable options to be able to market their business and advertise. What's happening at the moment in this current world we live in is that the big guys and the massive companies have all the money. And if you want to also go to the big companies and market on their platforms, they charge an arm and a leg for you to be able to reach an audience and advertise your company with no real marketing system behind it, just plain visual ads that just get eyeballs and that's it. There's no way for you to be able to capture your audience, capture clients, and keep them for life. So we've decided to step in. We've decided to make a very viable option and an affordable option and an effective option for all cricket businesses that are looking to reach a cricket audience. Whether you're a business, an entrepreneur, whether you're selling products, whatever the case may be, if you're looking for effective, affordable marketing, Cricket Fanatics Magazine is the place for you to do so. So go ahead, click on the link on the screen and in the description. Let's start the conversation. You get a free consultation to see where you are at the moment, how we fit in, and we will be able to work with you to reach a cricket audience effectively and affordably, a cricket market. We've created it. We've built a platform. We've built an audience for you to reach. So go ahead. There's no need for you to now grow a whole audience and try to organically build a audience and following. We have the following. So come on over, come join us, and let's start making you succeed in your business and in all your entrepreneurial goals. So without further ado, let's get straight into today's video. Looking forward to discussing this with you guys. Interesting thumbnail. I've gone with a little bit of a interesting question over here that I'm going to ask you guys as well on the show. So let's get straight into it. A very good evening and welcome to Cricket Fanatics Magazine. This is your SA20 Watch Daily Show. I'm your host, Khalid Moedin. This is the show where we talk about everything that has to do with the SA20 when the South African cricketers perform in the tournament. Well, we had that in abundance today. The South Africans once again stepped up in this day, in this double header on a Saturday. We had the first match that was played today was between MI Cape Town and Johannesburg Super Kings or Joburg Super Kings at the Wanderers Stadium. And boy, oh boy, what a match we had. It all started off with Rassie van der Dussen and Ryan Rickelton. They scored the highest ever opening partnership in South Africa in T20 cricket. They scored 200 as a partnership. They were absolutely excellent. They scored 290 odd balls. And they really dominated the match with regards to power hitting. Both of them had a strike rate of over 200. Or Ryan Rickelton's one was 200 on the dot, and Rassie van der Dussen's was 208. They went completely crazy against the Joburg Super Kings bowlers. They took all of them apart, and particularly Nandre Burger, Romario Shepherd, they completely dominated those two bowlers as well as Moeen Ali. Burger went for 13. He was 13.25 economy rate, even though he took 2 wickets. Moeen Ali, and he went for 5 sixes and 3 fours in his time in his bowling spell. Moeen Ali went for he was an economy rate of 10.75 and he went for 3 sixes. Zahir Khan was also very expensive. He had an economy rate of 15. He went for 4 sixes in his 2 overs, not for 30. But we can give some credit to some of the other bowlers in the team. I think Lazard Williams pulled it back well. He did, however, go for quite a few fours and he had a couple of wides. But overall, his bowling performance was pretty decent. He was probably the best bowler on the day, 1 for 36 in his 4 overs. And Imran Tahir, 1 for 31 in his 3. Those were kind of the major takeaways from when it comes to the bowling department from the JSK team. But it was the batters' show. It was Rassie van der Dussen's show. It was his time. It was his performance that really stood out. He scored 104 50 balls. He had 9 fours and 6 sixes. He really murdered the ball. He really him and Ryan Rickelton started from almost the 4th over or so. That's when they really started going crazy and they started hitting sixes of almost every single over. They had sixes on boundaries. They were absolutely phenomenal. And as an opening pair, they were both playing in their home grounds. I think that would have helped them as well. But we have to give Ryan Rickelton some credit here. We asked for consistency, and boy, oh boy, has he delivered. That 98 of 49 balls, 8 sixes and 6 fours. He was absolutely fantastic. And he is really now, we have to say, knocking on that South Africa door. But has Rassie van der Dussen now staked a claim for that World Cup spot? He never got to see the last World Cup with regards to game time. Temba Bavuma played above him. And they had Quinton de Kock, Riley Rousseau, Aiden Markram, Hendrik Klaassen, David Miller. Those guys were in the team. But with the way that Rassie van der Dussen played today, it's all up to whether he can go consistently to whether he can play consistently like this throughout the tournament, because that will obviously really show whether he can stake a claim for the South African national team for the T20 World Cup. Rob Walter has said it over and over again that he is going to be looking at the SA20 for a couple of positions and couple of players, and they'll make their decisions also based on the SA20. So people are the national coach is going to be watching this particular tournament to see who is going to be performing. But I have to give credit to Rassie and Ryan today. They were both very excellent at the top of the order. We had a little bit of extra small little cameos added to the mix, particularly Liam Livingston, 12 of 5, but 9 from Kieran and Sam Curran. But the bulk of the runs was obviously scored by Rassie van der Dussen and Ryan Rickelton. Like I said, they put on a 200-run partnership in 15.3 overs. So they were absolutely phenomenal with the bat today. And then with the ball, MI Cape Town were fantastic. And a massive, massive shout out needs to go to George Linder. It was a pretty flat wicket, and he got 2 for 25 with a economy rate of 6.25. Only went for 2 sixes, but he was fantastic in his performance today. He was really good. He opened the bowling as well. Obviously it's under pressure against Reza Hendricks and Faf du Plessis, and he bowled extremely well to keep them at bay. I think that was something that was very well. That was a very good performance from him with the ball, and he really put pressure on the opposition. He also took the wicket of Faf du Plessis, which was key. So that obviously changes the game always when the captain goes out, because Faf is like one of their best players, and if he gets going at the top of the order, it's very difficult to stop him, especially at the home of the JSK team. He scored 100 there in last year's competition. So Faf du Plessis normally goes quite well at the Wanderers and does really well at the Wanderers. So it was a really good wicket to take, and it really put South Africa, it really put the MI Cape Town team on the front foot. But they were clinical all around, I would say. I think the only person that really was expensive was obviously Liam Livingston. He went for 46 runs, 1 wicket. They went after him a bit in his 4 overs. Ollie Stone bowled well for his 2 for 18. Bjorn Hendricks bowled okay for his 1 for 17. Kagiso Rabada only bowled 2 overs, 1 for 6, and they bowled the opposition out for 145. Special mention to Louis Deploy, who scored 48 of 24 balls at a strike rate of 200, 2 sixes and 6 fours. Special mention has to go to him for his performance. I think he was pretty good as well. So we can highlight that. But wow, Rassie. If Rassie can put on performances like this consistently throughout the tournament, he was really good in the MSL. If he can continuously put on performance like this in the SA20, he could be posing some questions to Rob Walter whether he should be in that T20 squad, in that World Cup squad. So, but I think Ryan Rickelton's really, really giving the selectors something to think about. I said on yesterday's show that on the previous show, where he scored that 89, I think it was, that has he been unlucky not to get more chances for South Africa? He got 4 tests, he got 2 ODIs, but he never really got a prolonged run. He's been in squads, but not really gotten a consistent run in the team. So is it that time now for him to get that? He's really, really knocking down the door with these 2 opening games. I mean, you couldn't ask for a better start from a player. Maybe 2 centuries, but I mean, that's very highly unlikely. But he was very close today. Kind of unselfish the way he approached it. He could have tried to get his 100 and think about himself, but he went for the shot. He went for a big shot. He went for the runs and lost his wicket. So I'm not really going to criticize him for that. When Rassie lost his wicket also, Ryan hardly faced any delivery, so that could have also played a part for him to nick off, because he never really faced much deliveries between the period of when he went out and when Rassie went out. So I think he only faced 5 deliveries in that period, and there was quite a bit of overs in between because Rassie went out in the halfway through the 16th over. So that was a bit of a shame. I would have hoped that he would have faced more deliveries and had a bigger chance to be able to had a bigger chance to be able to reach that 100 or more opportunities to reach that 100 in his innings. Let me read some of the comments. Cyber saying, two dominant performances today. Kani says, what a spell from Linda on a flat wicket, 100%. Berger says, hi, Holly, when are you going to the stadium again? I'll be going. So for the Paarl Royals game, I didn't go to the stadium because there was only one person per publication. And for me to go to the stadium and still do the show afterwards when I'm throwing to Paul is almost impossible. I'll only get home after 10, and then there's no opportunity for me to, then it will be way too late for me to do the show. I don't think many people will then come on the show and join in by the time I get home from Paul. It does take me some time to drive back after the press conferences and all of that things that you are at the ground. So I did send my helper, my co-worker, to Paul to do a behind the scenes video for that game. For the Newlands games, I will be going attending the Newlands games definitely because I don't live too far from Newlands, so it's a little bit easier for me to go there, cover it, and come back and still shoot the show. So that's a little bit more realistic for me. I will be going to some Paul games, probably the afternoon games. I will be attending if there's games in the afternoon on a weekend, maybe. But the late games are going to be too much of a rush for me to do so. So I haven't been able to do so. I'm not traveling to the games either. Plane tickets are quite expensive to the different venues. It's quite crazy to be able to do so. And with the final being here as well in Cape Town, there's no need for me to fly like I did last season to go cover the the games because all the semifinals and the finals were in Joburg last year. So it made it there was a reason for me to actually go there and cover it. So I will be covering the Newlands games and getting some fan reactions as well. Berger says, oops, Rassie got selected for being the highest run scorer in MSL. If he starts quicker, especially in chases, would definitely make it to the side, says Berger. Erin says, I would prefer Rickerton over Verreina in the test side, especially with how poorly Kyle played against India. Yeah, I think we need to give Kyle some extra chances. It doesn't help when you get dropped and then brought back into the side and then left out. And then, so I think you need an extended run. I think that at the moment, there's no reason why Rickerton can't make the white ball teams. There are definitely spots available for Ryan Rickerton in the white ball sides. In ODIs, he could definitely replace Quinton de Kock with the way he's batting at the moment. That could be a potential option for South Africa in the white ball arena in ODIs. I know people want to see Riza Hendricks in the ODI setup. I feel personally that Riza hasn't necessarily shown the same consistency in the ODIs as he has in the T20s. At the moment, he is in terrible form and has been very unlucky as well. It's like Mother Cricket just decides, you know what, you need to go through a bad spell if you're a batter. And that's what's currently happening to Riza Hendricks. Been very unlucky. The run out today, even though he called no very loudly, he was run out today. Even though it was Faf du Plessis' call, I still think that there was a run, but Faf should have just listened to the call because Riza called quite early and quite loud, and he said no. But that was a bit of an unlucky one. He's gone out for duck, and he went out for duck recently as well, I think, against India. So he hasn't been in the best of form recently. So he needs to get into that swing of things. And the SA20 is probably the perfect place for him to get back on form before the World Cup. So there's no questions surrounding Riza Hendricks in T20 cricket for me. There will be a question mark, though, on who we're going to add as extras into the squad. Kani says, didn't expect that from John Smuts. Yeah, we're going to get into that game right now. So I basically, who's this Herman guy? He looked scared. Jordan Herman. That's what he is. Let's get into that game, the SEC game. The SEC game, another high scoring game as well, from both sides actually. Durban Super Giants scored 225 for 3. Matthew Brzezinski was absolutely fantastic today. Unfortunately, didn't get his 50, but 43 of 29 balls, 3 sixes and 4 fours, strike rate of 148, opening the batting for Durban Super Giants. Brilliant from him. Quinton de Kock failed again, even though he started off pretty decently with 1 6 and 3 fours, but ended up losing his wicket. But then came John Smuts, switching over from SEC and going to play for Durban Super Giants and playing extremely well against his former team. Scored 75 of 38 balls, a strike rate of 197.36, 7 sixes and 4 fours. Absolutely fantastic performance from John Smuts. He really murdered the the bowlers. He went after Simon Harmer, completely dismantled Simon Harmer. Simon went for 0 for 53 or 3 overs at the economy of 17.66. Bayes Swanepoel bowled 1 over, but he got smacked all around the ground. 1 6 and 3 fours, 18 economy rate. And also they went after Othniel Bartman as well. He went for 51 runs, 0 for 51, 4 sixes and 3 fours. So the SEC bowlers didn't really do themselves justice at all. I think also similarly to the JSK bowlers, they didn't really bowl that well either. They didn't really keep consistent lines, etc. They bowled into the slots a lot. But you have to give it to John Smuts. He was absolutely fantastic. So from a South African point of view, another South African performing extremely well. Marco Jansen bowled really well until his final over. I'm a little bit worried about how he's been bowling at the death recently. So that's something he really needs to work on. Um, Something that I'm hoping that he can improve because recently at the death he hasn't really been very good. So that's something that he's going to need to improve. But yeah, the game was at a decent position when John Smuts went out. I mean, they were 85 for 2 after Brzezinski went out, and then John came in and took them to 185 before losing his wicket. And then Nicholas Poran came in, and he went ballistic. 60 of 31 balls, 5 fours, 4 sixes, strike rate of 193. Henrik Klaasen, 13 of 6, 1 6 and 1 4. He helped Puran a little bit as they to get them over that 200 mark and 225. But ultimately, JJ is the guy that we need to praise in that performance. Then the SEC team, they didn't get off to a good start. Jordan Herman had a very good SA20 last season. There were periods in the tournament where he did really well, and then periods where he dropped. So he hasn't had the best start to the tournament for himself in his first game. I think he will ease into the competition and get some momentum. But it was Tom Abel that stood out and Tristan Stubbs. So we're going to highlight Tristan Stubbs' innings a little bit later. But Abel was fantastic, 65 of 36, 2 sixes and 7 fours at a strike rate of 180. Aiden Markram and Abel did okay together. They did pretty well. Markram looked good, but then ended up losing his wicket. He was bowled by Smuts trying to double step him, and Smuts just kept the ball flat and at the stumps and bowled Markram for 29 of 21 balls. And then Tristan Stubbs came in with almost a impossible task because he lost. He came in after Aiden Markram's wicket, but then he lost Tom Abel very soon thereafter, and they were at 114 for 4, and then he lost Markram at 100, Marco Jansen at 129 for 5. But he really batted well, and in any other given day, this could have been a winning knock. 55 of 26 balls, 4 sixes, 3 fours, a strike rate of 211.53. Tristan Stubbs showing what he can do. It was fantastic. The way he performed today was absolutely phenomenal. It really shows what he's capable of and what I'd hope for him in a South African setup down the line. When Tristan Stubbs comes in, when he has a little bit of room to work with and he has some overs at his disposal, he can get himself settled in and then really go. I think when he's rushed to score runs and he comes in and he's expected to really go and play that a finisher role like that, that's where he becomes a little bit stuck. Whereas today, it's not really, it was a finisher role, but he had some overs to work with, almost like what David Miller does for South Africa sometimes. He comes in when there's 10 overs gone and then he goes until the end. Or he comes in when there's 8 overs gone and then he goes until the end. So there's those are the type of things that I want to see from young Tristan Stubbs in the future. I think that's the type of role that he can play for South Africa too. And he needs to get some credit because there was a lot of pressure on him to perform, and he did as best as he could. And especially everybody around him, he was just losing wickets all around him, so that didn't really help his cause as well. Um, but he bowled very well. He batted very well today, and I have to give him props for that. Uh, with regards to the bowlers, John Smuts put on a good performance with the ball again, even though he was a little bit expensive. Went for 3 sixes, 1 4 in his 3 overs. He got 2 wickets, 2 for 36, and two crucial wickets as well. He got Aiden Markram out and he got Marco Jansen out. So those are two very destructive players. And SEC still managed to get to 190. So what a match to actually watch and witness. It was a pure entertainment, a purely entertaining batting masterclass from both sides. I think, or not masterclass really, but entertaining batting performances from both sides. It's good that we're seeing some high scoring games to start off this tournament. It really sets the precedent for the rest of the tournament. I hope that these wickets don't deteriorate significantly through as the tournament goes along. We've had quite a bit of rain all around um, the grounds that they've played recently. JSK, Joburg had rain, SEC had rain, Durban had rain. So all of those three venues that they opened the tournament with had rain. So I think that does help the tournament a bit because we're not having these scorching hot days every single game where it's baking the pitch and making it difficult to repair. So I think that so far for a batting point of view, great. But for the catcher 2 million, poor. Nobody's had a. There's been a record amount of sixes scored at SEC, the most amount of sixes scored at St George's Park ever in T20 cricket. So, and not one catch. Durban didn't have one catch, and we've had high scoring games at all those venues. Even at the Wanderers, nobody caught a ball. So it is crazy that we haven't seen a catch yet for that share over 2 million, which is quite strange. Matt 92 says, good to see Rickleton in good form. Hope he gets in the ODI side. Sabir Khan says, when is Naveen coming? I'm not 100% sure. Sabir says, Mayers is greater than Mulder. Yeah, Mulder hasn't been at his best when he's been for the Proteas and now not for in the SA20 yet so far. He's doing okay, quite well domestically though for the Lions, but he hasn't been able to show the same form for the national side and in the SA20 so far either. Matt 92 says Stubbs is definitely at a 4 or 5. He shouldn't come in later than that. I agree with you. I've always said that Stubbs is actually a middle order batter rather than a bottom order, lower order batter where he comes in at 6 or 7. I think he's more of a guy that needs to come in when there's overs to spare. He is a type of player that we always say that David Miller is that type of player and that he should be doing that type of role. I would make the same arguments for Tristan Stubbs. Tristan needs to come in when he has overs at his disposal and he can first get his eye in because he can be extremely destructive once he's seeing that ball clearly. So I like the position that they bat in him at the Sunrisers. I think it's a great position for him, and I think I hope that he can keep up this consistency throughout the tournament and really take that momentum into the T20 World Cup, where we will need his impact and his influence. I think if Tristan Stubbs is in this form and he can bring this form to South Africa and for the Proteas, we really got a very destructive player on our hands and a very valuable asset in our arsenal. And we need to work towards that. We need to work towards Tristan Stubbs being the future of that middle order. I would love to see Aiden Markram and Tristan Stubbs in that middle order in the future. I think that will be absolutely amazing. Hoping that Diego Brevis can find some form too. Hasn't had a good start to this SA20 so far. In the field, not really as well as with the bat, although he has taken a good catch so far. He hasn't been at his total best, but that is okay. You give your younger guys some rope to work with. You want him to ease himself into the tournament. He will become a very important player in the middle um, games of this tournament. So I believe that he will come good and he will find his form, and we will see the destructive Dieva Brevis that we know. So yeah, so far I've been impressed with the South Africans so far in this tournament. They've stepped up. It's our brand, even though it is an Indian. It's very heavily Indian influenced this tournament. As the South Africans have really stepped up and performed, and I like that. Matt says Nisa needs to watch out. There's players coming after his spot in the T20s. This is a good headache to have for Rob Walter, because now a tournament like this before a World Cup is good to have, because you can really have options and combinations you can start working with. So yeah, there are players knocking on the door. I don't think anybody's position is safe, probably other than Klaasen and Miller in that batting order. I think, and perhaps you could say Aiden Markram. I think that Riza Hendricks has made that spot his own with his form in the national side, but there will be other players that are knocking on the door. But and we're going to have to see if Quinton de Kock is going to make himself available nationally for the T20 side. I think he will, and I think he will play. So what's nice about this is that there have been some players that have performed that maybe aren't necessarily the guys that people thought before, the predicted players. Haven't gotten off to a crazy start, other than maybe Heinrich Klaasen, David Miller. The ones that people predicted would do well haven't yet. So your superstars. So there's a long tournament still to go. So that means we're still going to see that. What is the next series after New Zealand? If I'm not mistaken, it is. I'm actually not sure. I think it's West Indies. Because we see the tests in New Zealand, and then it is the World Cup. From what I know, I don't have the fixtures in front of me right now. I'm trying to look for it. Yeah, they don't even have it on CSA site. I have the FTP on cricketfanaticsmag.com. Okay, here we go. We've got New Zealand and then the West Indies in May. There will be three T20s in May. Then July, we've got tour of Ireland, three ODIs and three T20s. Then in August, we tour West Indies again, two test matches and five T20s. Then October, November, it is the tour of Bangladesh, two test matches. Then November, December, Sri Lanka come to South Africa, two test matches. And then Pakistan tour South Africa, two test matches, three ODIs and three T20s. Again, in that SA20 period. So I'm hoping that the SA20 can maybe change things around. Yeah, West Indies is the next team that we play, T20s in May, like I just said. So, yeah, guys, that's all I have for you today. I hope you guys enjoyed this episode. Well done to Rassie van der Dussen. Excellent performance from him for his 100, the first 100 of the SA20 2.0. Good performances from Ryan Rickleton, Tristan Stubbs, George Linder, John Smuts. All need to be congratulated for the performances they put on today. Thanks a lot for watching, everybody. Hope you guys enjoyed this episode. If a South African performs again spectacularly, you'll see me again for a show. Stay safe. Enjoy the rest of your evening. Peace out, everyone.